Hi, friends. So, you may have noticed in your neighborhood things like Christmas trees going up and lights. But Christmas is not the only holiday that happens in December. Um, there's also a holiday called Hanukkah, which Jewish people celebrate. And so, I wanted to read this book to let you know a little bit more about that holiday. So, whether this is one of many Hanukkahs or your first Hanukkah, like Sammy Spider, let's go check out the book. Sammy Spider's First Hanukkah, written by Sylvia A. Rouss. A book of colors and numbers. Sammy Spider shivered in his web high up on the Shapiro's living room ceiling. Look, Mother, he called. What is Mrs. Shapiro lighting? That's a menorah, answered Mrs. Spider. The Shapiros are celebrating Hanukkah. They will light one more candle every night for 8 nights. It's beautiful, said Sammy, as he lowered himself down on a strand of webbing to take a closer look. Be careful, warned Mrs. Spider. Don't get too close. It was the first night of Hanukkah. Sammy stopped right above the shamash, the helper candle that Mrs. Shapiro had used to light the first candle. Mother, the flame feels so good on my cold feet, Sammy said. So here's Sammy. He's warming up all his little feet. And here are the Shapiros getting ready for Hanukkah. Mr. Shapiro reached into his pocket and handed Josh a bright blue dreidel. A dreidel is kind of like a top. You spin it, and it spins on one end. Sammy hovered above the flame and listened as Mrs. Shapiro told Josh the story of the Maccabees and the miracle of the oil. The smells of frying potato latkes filled the room. Here's Sammy and the menorah. Here are all the latkes. Josh gave the dreidel a spin and squealed with delight. It was spinning so fast that Sammy felt a little dizzy watching from above. When the candles had melted and the flames flickered out, the Shapiros announced bedtime and took Josh upstairs. It's your bedtime too, Sammy, called Mrs. Spider. Sammy climbed the strand of silk webbing and crawled into a cozy corner. Mrs. Spider gently tucked him in. Mother, asked Sammy, do you think I could have a blue dreidel to spin? Silly little Sammy, said his mother. Spiders don't spin dreidels. Spiders spin webs. Oh, two. So now it's the second night of Hanukkah, and they're getting another candle. On the second night of Hanukkah, Sammy watched expectantly as Mrs. Shapiro helped Josh light 2 candles. His feet were cold, and he wanted to warm them near the flame again. Tonight, Mrs. Shapiro gave Josh a bright red dreidel. Now he had 2 to spin. Everyone sang Hanukkah songs and ate donuts filled with sweet red cherry filling. The spinning dreidels made Sammy even dizzier. That night, when Mrs. Spider tucked Sammy into his soft web, he asked, Mother, do you think I could have a red dreidel to spin? Silly little Sammy, his mother answered. Spiders don't spin dreidels. Spiders spin webs. And here's the next candle. On the third night, Sammy once again warmed his feet above the menorah and watched as the Shapiros used the shamash to light the 3 candles. They gave Josh a yellow dreidel. Now he had 3 dreidels to spin. The dreidels twisted and twirled across the floor until the red one dropped, then the blue, and at last the yellow. Mother, could I have a yellow dreidel to spin? Sammy asked at bedtime. Silly little Sammy, she said. Spiders don't spin dreidels. Spiders spin webs. Each night, Sammy watched from his warm perch above the shamash. On the fourth night, the Shapiros lit 4 candles and gave Josh a green dreidel. On the fifth night, they lit 5 candles and gave Josh a purple dreidel. On the sixth night, they lit 6 candles and gave Josh an orange dreidel. On the seventh night, they lit 7 candles and Josh got a rose colored dreidel. Sammy had to raise himself a little higher on his web because his feet were getting hot. Oh, 8. It's the last night of Hanukkah. Let's count the candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And here's the helper candle. On the 8th night, Sammy felt sad as he watched the Shapiros light all 8 candles and give Josh a brown wooden dreidel. I'm going to miss Hanukkah, he thought. I won't smell the delicious latkes, I won't hear any Hanukkah songs, and I won't be able to watch Josh spin all his colorful dreidels. And how will I warm my feet? If only I could have just one dreidel, he thought, as the 8 dreidels danced merrily across the floor. What fun I would have! Then he remembered his mother's words. Spiders don't spin dreidels, Sammy. Spiders spin webs. But when the last candle flickered out and Sammy climbed reluctantly up the web to bed, his mother smiled, handed him a gift, and said, Happy Hanukkah, Sammy. Sammy opened the package and found 8 little socks, one for each night of Hanukkah, and one for each of his 8 feet. Each sock was a different color, and on each one, Mrs. Spider had spun a little dreidel. Sammy put on his new socks. There was one blue one, a red one, a yellow one, a green one, a purple one, an orange one, a rose-colored one, and a brown one. He slid happily down a silky strand and began to spin faster and faster and faster. Look, Mother, he shouted, I'm spinning my dreidels, all 8 of them. He looked so happy, he has a big smile on his face. Now all of his toes are warm in his dreidel socks. The end. Thanks for listening to that book, friends. See you next time, and happy Hanukkah.